Today, Jonathan and I will be explaining and providing scenarios of the 5 types of leadership power that were explained in 1959 by 2 social psychologists, Raven and French. Through these enactments and explanations, we hope that you will gain a deeper understanding of the leadership styles that you have previously seen and will continue to encounter in the future within different facets of your day-to-day life. Each of these different leadership power methods have a home within public administration, and grasping their reality is highly important to the understanding of it.
The first power that we're going to talk about is legitimate power. And being a parent myself, I want to talk specifically about parental-child dynamic. So parents inherently have authoritative power over their children. The range is quite vast in terms of what they can expect from a child. Usually children are given chores that they must perform, not only to teach them responsibility, but it also gives them a sense of accomplishing duties as a part of a team. So it establishes teamwork at an early age. Parents are the first real leader the individuals encounter, and the use of power in that relationship will guide values throughout that child's life. So whether it's in a good way or a bad way, depending on how that parent uses those powers, will dictate what that child does later on. Legitimate power for parents is assisted by all other leadership powers that we're going to discuss in this presentation. Usually what parents utilize is coercive power and reward power. Those two seem to be the biggest that a parent can use, because it's like you tell a child, if you don't act right, I'm going to give you a whooping, right? Mm-hmm. Or I'm going to take your video away, or whatever the case may be. So if the child acts accordingly. And on the other hand, though, you could say, hey, if you behave in the store, I'm going to get you a toy, right? Mm-hmm. When we leave. And so the reward is there for the child to want to do the right thing. And if you use that power the right way, then that would turn into referent power and allow the child to make their own decisions without you having to give direction and telling them what to do.
Okay, so the next type of power is expert power, which is mostly in like professors and hierarchies of business. So this is kind of like when you gain knowledge, or you gain respect through knowledge and leadership skills that are mainly based on like higher levels of education. So, for example, in the classroom, you kind of give authority to the professor because he's the one that has the information that he's teaching you. And we're going to do a little enactment of that. So, for example, if I were the student and you were the professor, as a student, I'm not going to be trying to lead the class and everything because I know that he has the information that I need. So, what's something that you're knowledgeable on?
Let's talk about biology, I guess.
Okay, so if I've never taken biology and you're the biology professor, I'm not going to be able to lead the class. I'm going to let you have the power of leadership there.
Yeah, so I mean, I could teach you all the different things about it. A leaf, what the different names are, what the different things do. Mm-hmm. So like if you're like, oh, hey, Candace, this is a stoma, and around the stoma there are guard cells. And those guard cells open and close depending on a variety of different things. So essentially, that's where a tree transpires and loses water. That's a majority of where the water loss goes from a tree. Mm-hmm. Do you have any questions?
So next is referent, and this is basically the type of power that's associated with like people obtaining it through their attractiveness, their worthiness, or their respect from others. So you see this a lot with where like famous people, or a lot of times now it's social media influencers and like YouTubers and stuff, have a lot of kind of say over pop culture and what people are wearing or what people are listening to, simply because they're like looked up to as being attractive or worthy of people's respect in a way. And one of like the top examples of this is definitely the Kardashian-Jenner family, because they kind of sculpt what we think is like the standard beauty type in America right now. And everything from social media and then also films and television also have a big say in referent power.
The next one that we're going to discuss is coercive power. We touched on that a little bit earlier when dealing with children, but we'll move on to more public administration and the job. So the Office of Personnel Management, which is the public administration's that governs federal employees, is limited in its ability to use coercive power, coercive leadership styles, in my opinion, actually in my experience rather, as being a federal technician for over 10 years. As with most government agencies, there are many layers that have to be considered before that style can be effective. So essentially what you have to look at is are the federal employees in a union? Do they have a collective bargaining agreement? What are the laws and the rules that we have to guide for us? What are the agency policies? Things like that. So those really kind of dictate how much coercion you could use as a leader, especially in the public sector. So what organizations have done is they've adopted standards and published adverse action guidelines. It's a TPR is what it is. And so it is actually a chart that tells you for whatever offense that you have, there are 3 levels of punishment,
Right.
Or adverse action. Ultimately, having these standards in place allows the lowest level management to correct employees with justifiable means.
Kind of so everybody's treated the same.
Exactly, yeah. So we'll go ahead and do an example of that. I will be the boss, and Candace will be the employee.
Okay.
I don't know why I keep getting...
Being the boss.
Yeah. Okay.
So basically, like, you call me into your office because I'm 10 minutes late.
Yeah.
And this is the conversation.
All right. Candace, thanks for coming in this morning.
Am I supposed to talk?
You can if you want.
Okay.
Yeah. So I called you in basically because I've noticed that you were 10 minutes late this morning. Our company policy clearly states that you must be on time. Truancy is not acceptable. So the first step in our adverse action is that I have to give you a formal write-up in your personnel record. So that's your first offense. So just to let you know, if you were to continue and be late again, the second offense will be a 1-day suspension, right? So you don't want to do that. And then if you're late after that, a third time, that's your third strike, you could possibly be terminated.
I gotta get it in check.
That is right. So I just need you to initial here, and you'll be good to go. Yeah, thanks.
Got it. No problem. Have a nice day.
You too.
All right. And then the last type.
Oh, that's me too. Technical difficulty. The last one is going to be reward power. Again, I'll reflect back to my experience as a federal technician. So leaders who use reward power will ultimately have less turnover and more satisfied employees. The way federal technicians can receive rewards are early pay step increases. So if you were a GS 7, the GS scale has 10 step increases that you could receive. So when you first get hired on, you'd be a step 1. And then if I were to do a good job, have positive feedback loops, and get things accomplished, what my boss can do is prior to when I become eligible for the next pay step increase, he could actually contact HR, request that I get an early step increase. So that's a good incentive to do the right thing and be safe on the job. Other things that they would utilize are time off awards. Those awards are for positive results, doing good jobs, or volunteering for staying after work, working comp time more than you need to, stepping up and doing the right thing. Those are the most abundant awards that are given out in the federal government when I work there. So those are the most effective.
Right.
Yeah, another way, and these are, in my opinion and experience, are pretty rare, are cash awards for federal government employees. They don't necessarily call them bonuses,
Right.
but it's a cash award, and that's for like a special act or a certain amount of service given to an organization. So, you know, I don't know, you did something safe and you saved somebody's life, or if you prevented a massive spill of a hazardous substance or something like that getting into a waterway, you saved the organization tons of money.
So they compensate you.
Yeah, and they say, hey, you know what? You did a good job. Here's $500.
Yeah.
Again, that's pretty rare that I've seen. So using these incentives encourage employees to exceed expectations. While these rewards are available, many new leaders, they fail to utilize them. Overall, morale within that department is negatively impacted because employees know that these things are available. So it would be wise as a leader to utilize all those to your advantage. And again, the more you use reward power, the more referent power that you're going to gain.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we hope you learned a little bit about the 5 types of leadership power and that you're able to recognize them going forward.